Hi friends! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tanishka and welcome to the club as well. It's been 2 weeks since I uploaded my last video. Now I finally feel ready to sit down and talk to the camera again, so here I am. Today's video is going to be about my 52 book reading challenge and the books that I've read so far. Now, you're probably wondering, where on earth did I get this crazy idea to read 52 books? And it is actually a funny story, but that will be a whole other video. For today's video, I am just going to tell you the books that I have read so far. Now, the number 52 came from the 52 weeks in a year, so that means I should read 1 book a week. And right now is week 26 in 2018, and so far I have only read 22 books, which I think is kind of good as well. So I will tell you the 22 books that I've read so far, and I won't make a review for all of them because a lot of the books that I've read are similar in nature. I'm very into books that are related to positive thinking and imagination, and you'll see that in this video later on. But like I said, I will give a review for some of them, and some of them I will just say like whatever comes to my mind to say about it, because some of them I've read like earlier on this year, so I don't necessarily remember everything I thought about the book. Just to let you know, one way that helped me even reach 22 books in half a year is that I try different methods of reading. Sometimes I read a paperback, sometimes I listen to an audiobook, sometimes I like to read online, and I read in different times of the day, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes at night before I sleep. And you will find that I might have cheated a little bit when I did this challenge, but you can be the judge of that. But yeah, let's get started. Now, the first book that I read in 2018 was Goddess Wisdom by Tanishka. And basically this book got me interested in the whole feminine energy thing. You'll know all about this. I've been raving about feminine energy on my Instagram forever. I would say that this book only touches the basics of feminine energy. It talks about the importance of being in touch with your feminine energy and how to go about it. It also talks about the history and how people in the past used femininity to their advantage and how it is healing and how we need more of it in the world. I do agree with some of the methods to be in touch with feminine energy. Some of them I just found kind of weird, but I don't judge. I read this with an open mind. So it talks about things like the moon cycles and belly dancing and having a support group that believes in feminine energy, and yeah, that's basically my first book of the year. The second book that I've read was the 7 Brief Lessons on Physics by Carlo Rovelli. And this is a very thin book, and the key is also in the name. It only talks about brief lessons, so it covers only the basics of physics. If you did physics in school, then you'll probably know some of the things that he talks about in here, and I did actually learn a lot about physics, even though they just talk about the basics. I really like how he made it very concise, and he made it sound like a story, so he didn't make physics sound boring or anything. He did remind us that the roots of science is curiosity and wonder, so physics isn't something that you go to a university lecture for and just go like, oh, okay, I understand physics now. Physics is something, well, physics and science is something that you continuously learn, and you always have something new to discover, and the things needed to get there is with curiosity and learning. Now, books 3, 4, 5, and 6 are from the same writer, and it's based on the same topic, so I won't give a review for all of them. The author is Neville Goddard, and his books are Feeling is the Secret, The Law and the Promise, At Your Command, and Prayer, The Art of Believing. Neville's books are in the public domain, so that means that you can get them for free online if you want to read them. I would recommend you to read Neville's books with an open mind, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to learn anything. Same with other books as well. But if you're very rigid with your values and your beliefs on how life works, then this book probably isn't for you, because this guy, he really emphasizes on the imagination and being in control of your feelings, because he teaches us that our imagination creates our reality. So everything that we see outside of us is actually happening within our imagination. And so when we are in control of our imagination and we use it and we visualize our life in the way that we want it to be, then it will happen. But the same goes for those who aren't aware of their imagination or who don't know how to use their imagination properly. Then that's when things don't really go our way and we start blaming external circumstances, whereas when we are actually in control of all of those things, which I think is really interesting. And I would recommend you to read his books at least once in your life, and one of his most popular and most important books is The Law and the Promise. Now the next book number 7, is Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. That is my way of pronouncing a Russian name. Please don't make fun of my accent. So I first discovered about Lolita through Lana Del Rey's music, Lolita. At first, I wanted to understand the hype of this whole Lolita thing, so I watched the movie remakes. It was originally a book, and it was made into a movie in 1962 and 1997. And I watched both of them. I didn't like both of them. I didn't get the hype about it, but I thought, you know, okay, if this book was made into a movie twice, then maybe the book is that good. And so if you don't know about Lolita, it's about this pedophile falling in love with a teenager, and this teenager reminded him of his young love when he was younger, and this girl died, and yeah, things got a bit crazy. So I read the book, and I have to say that I'm not very impressed with Nabokov's writing with Lolita, because I think that the reason why a lot of people read Nabokov was because they thought they would get some steamy live-action incest stories, but for that I would actually recommend 50 Shades more, because you're not getting any of that in this book. The only thing enjoyable about Lolita was his literary writing. The way of his writing and his choice of words are just beautiful, and you will just improve your vocabulary and you'll learn a lot of words from it, and that's it. So I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, but you won't get any of that live action stuff in Lolita. At least I wasn't impressed with it. Now the next 3 books are from the author Florence Shinn, and her writing is also very similar to Neville Goddard's. And those books are The Game of Life and How to Play It, The Magic Path of Intuition, and Your Word is Your Wand. Her teachings are very similar to Neville Goddard. Imagination creates reality, but she talks more about intuitiveness, which I really like to read about because I am a very intuitive person. And she also talks about affirmations, positive thinking, and the only way that you can live the life that you desire is through positive thinking, and yeah, just being in touch with your intuition. So that was book 8, 9, and 10. Now let's move to books 11, and 12. And these books are from Rhonda Byrne, a famous law of attraction author, and the books that I've read were The Secret and How the Secret Changed My Life. I would say the law of attraction is basically what Neville Goddard teaches, but Rhonda Byrne's books are very basic teachings of the law of attraction. So if you're new to the law of attraction, then I would definitely recommend The Secret. People like Neville Goddard and Florence Shinn is for the more advanced type of people who, if you really want to specialize in the law of attraction, you should start with Rhonda Byrne's books and then move forward with Neville Goddard and Florence Shinn and whoever else there is. Back to The Secret. The Secret talks about the basics of the law of attraction, and How the Secret Changed My Life talks about the success stories of people all over the world after they discovered and applied the law of attraction in their lives. These are very inspiring books, but they're pretty basic, so. And the next book is a nutrition book called Eat Fat, Get Thin. It's this book, Eat Fat, Get Thin by Mark Hyman. Basically, this book talks about the common myths about nutrition and why we've been learning about nutrition wrong our whole lives. I think that Hyman, he was mostly complaining about the health industry more. Like half of the book, it was a pretty slow read in my opinion. But basically, he's saying that the most common misconception about health is that fat is bad for us. He says that fat is actually really good for our health, so we need to eat fatty foods in order to be skinny and healthy and just feel good about ourselves. It's sugar that is bad for us. And what I really like about this book is that he gives us some healthy recipes to try for 21 days in order to lose weight. I've tried some of them, I haven't tried all of them yet, but he also gives us a list of things that we need in our kitchen and pantry and what food is good to eat and what's not good to eat and why. So I think I really like the second half of the book more than the first half because that's all just sciencey and logical and yeah. The more fun stuff is in the back. The next book is 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, and he is the co-founder of PayPal. And I love books like these because I'm a very entrepreneurial person myself, and I just love to read anything related to business and entrepreneurship. And what this guy is basically saying is that in order for you to have a successful business, you have to create something that hasn't been done before. It's not just taking something that already exists and innovating it. You have to start from scratch, and where the name comes from, 0 to 1 instead of 1 to 2 or 1 to whatever. You have to start from scratch. And I really like it. It kind of encourages being a monopoly rather than being a competitive firm. It teaches you how to become a monopoly rather than a competitive firm, because that's one of the best ways for you to go from 0 to 1. You have to be in control of your market. And he talks about some practical stuff like writing a business plan and having a small team and finding a mentor and all those things. So now let's move on to book number 15. And book number 15 was The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. And I'm not a huge fan of thrillers, but this book is a thriller and I somehow happen to like it. I really like Oscar Wilde's way of writing, and I can understand why other people like him as well and why this book was turned into a movie. Basically, Picture of Dorian Gray is about a guy named Dorian who is very handsome, and he is forever young, and he has a painting of him that lets him keep his youth, and the painting would age for him. I don't want to give too much away, but basically there's this really strange relationship between what Dorian does in his life and what happens to his painting. And I read the last chapter of this book a little over past midnight, and it gave me chills, and I went to the bathroom. I saw a huge mouse and I screamed so loud. So I wouldn't recommend reading this book before you go to sleep, or if you just want to wind down in the evening, because it's not a good idea. But yeah, I've actually had this book for years. It was sitting on my shelf for ages, and I finally took the time to sit down and read it. So I'm very proud of that, and I like this book. I would recommend it if you like thrillers especially. Book number 16 is Hansel and Gretel by Jacob Grimm. Now, you may be thinking, like, why on earth am I reading a fairy tale book? And my answer to that is because I just wanted to reminisce books that I read, well, that my mom read to me when I was in kindergarten, because that was pretty much how I learned English, and I guess that was where my creative journey started, by reading fairy tales. I can't really say that this is a book because it is a chapter from the collections of the Brothers Grimm's fairy tale stories, but you can be the judge of that. I consider it a book because if I read the whole collection, then I think that would just take forever to read. So I consider it as one book. I hope you don't mind. And yeah, Hansel and Gretel, good classic German fairy tale story. And the second book as well is also a fairy tale. It's a short story of a fairy tale collection by Hans Christian Andersen, and that is The Emperor's New Clothes. I really have no excuse. I just wanted to reread the stories that I read when I was little. I don't know, I'm 21 and I still like to read fairy tales. So what are you gonna do about it? Now, book number 18. It's a bit more leveled up than the last book, and it is a dating book called The Rules 2 by Ellen Fein and Sherrie Schneider. Now, before you judge me for reading a dating book, let me explain. It is a book that we've had in our house for years and years, so the book is pretty old. I'm trying to find it right now. Yeah, so I can't find it somewhere in the house, but I'll find it some other time. So basically this is a second book of a sequel. I've never read the first book before. I don't know why we only have the second book, but basically this book is just a traditional do's and don'ts rule book about dating. I don't really agree with some of the teachings. I think that a lot of people have broken the rules and still succeeded in their relationship. I do, however, agree with some of the teachings. Basically, this book is just telling you to have a life and have your own hobbies, have your own goals, don't be clingy to your partner, have a social life, and yeah, just take care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And somehow your relationship will flourish. Plus, one of the writers did end up getting divorced after writing this book, so a lot of people questioned her position as a dating coach. So yeah, so that's interesting. So that's why you should be careful on whose advice you take with regards to certain matters. Now, the next book was an audiobook, and it was You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. So I really like reading books about, or in this case listen to books about personal finance, because I know how money can be a very sensitive topic for most of us, including me in the past. But since I realized that I was very serious about becoming an entrepreneur and self-employed, that I should definitely have a good relationship with money. And I really like Jen's book because she made the book was, first of all, the book was really funny, and she made money a very light-hearted topic instead of a very heavy and serious thing, which can tend to happen for a lot of us. And basically she teaches us that wealth is actually a mindset. Wealth and poverty is a mindset, and it's up to you to choose which path you want. And it is possible to have a good relationship with money and to have a good perspective about money, and that money isn't evil. You can make money work for you instead of be a slave of money, and give some positive affirmations related to money. And yeah, it just gets you like pumped about making your own money and making you believe that it is possible to be wealthy and live the life of your dreams and be happy and fulfilled as well. Because you can only help, like if your main goal is to help others in life, like the poor for example, you can only help the poor once you are in a good financial position yourself. So yeah, I definitely think her book is worth reading. And my next book is Mastery by Robert Greene. This was also an audiobook, and I am actually a huge fan of Robert Greene's writing, especially his first book, The 48 Laws of Power. Although some of his teachings might seem twisted, I think that it is actually a really good psychology and business book. But I'm talking about his other book now, Mastery, and I think that I would actually recommend Mastery even more than his first book, because this book teaches you to master all the skills that you need to succeed in your passions in life. And if you don't know your passions in life, then this book will make you really go deep within yourself and understand more about yourself, find out what your passions and interests are and what skills are needed to get there. He talks about the stories of people, of like really successful people, and how they specialized in their industry and how they got to where they were. For example, Johann Wolfgang van Goethe, I think that's how you pronounce his name, the musician, and how his life story was and how he became a successful musician. And yeah, I don't know, I just love Robert Greene's writings. I think he just has a way of making it sound really beautiful, even though you may or may not disagree with some of them. And the next book is also an audiobook, and book number 21 is Your Invisible Power by Genevieve Byrne. I'm not gonna lie, I listened to this audiobook as I was going to sleep, so I can't say that I was fully paying attention, but I did finish. I did remember bits of it, and I know that its teachings are very similar to Neville Goddard and Florence Scovel Shinn's and the Law of Attraction. And yeah, I have no excuse for this one, so I'm gonna have to listen to that again when I'm fully awake and paying attention. So I can't really give a review on that, but that was one of the books that I listened to. And the final book that I read, book number 22. I'm supposed to read 26 by now at least, but now I'm at book number 22, and that is The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F by Mark Ronson. The counterintuitive approach to living a good life. So Mark Ronson is a self-help author, but he kind of goes against all the cheesy self-help books that tells you to stand in front of a mirror and say positive affirmations to yourself, basically going against all the book that I have mentioned earlier about positive thinking. But yeah, so he's more of like the rebellious approach, and his book is kind of vulgar, so just bear in mind, like, you can tell from the title what the book is gonna be like. But it is very inspiring, because it's not that he's teaching us to not give an F about anything at all in life and just do whatever we think we should do. It's prioritizing your goals and giving an F only for the things that you really care about and that really matters to you, instead of putting your energy into things that don't bring you any value. I guess we're done for now. That was all the books that I've read or listened to so far. I will probably make another video on how I got onto this crazy train of reading one book a week. equals 52 books in 2018. I am 4 books short, but if I listen to a few more audiobooks, then I think I'll be back on track. Sometimes I do prefer paperbacks, but sometimes I do like audiobooks more because it saves a lot of time and you can multitask while cleaning your room and listening to the audiobook. But it is also fun to, you know, go to the park and hold a physical book and read it under the sun. That is really good as well. But yeah, so I didn't write a script for this video, but I did make some bullet points to help me remember what I thought about the books that I've read. And I have never given any reviews before on YouTube, at least. So I really hope that I made sense and that I didn't seem like I was rambling, and I really hope that this video inspired you to read more. That was my intention, to inspire you to improve yourself every day continuously, as I do so myself. If you want to join me on my reading challenge journey, you can find me on Goodreads. I will leave a link to my account below. And if you do want to buy any of my secondhand books, you can do so on my Gumtree. The link will also be in the description below. I will make a Depop actually. I'm trying to get my books more accessible everywhere. Apart from that, I really hope that you enjoyed this video, like really. You can reach out to me on Instagram or in the comments below. I'll try my best to reply to you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm glad that I finally sat myself down to record this, and if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button for me and subscribe to me if you want to see more videos, and I will see you very soon. Bye!